Hey, it's Colleen with Rope and Resellers. I'm here for another weekly update of what I sold on eBay for the week of July 2nd through July 8th, 2018.
First, I had a Kentley Deluxe Buffet trays. I've had these before. They're kind of like a paper wood product, like maybe glued wood or something. Usually they come with roses. I've never seen them with these little poodles. Oh my gosh, they're so cute, and they tell a little story of Fifi and Pepe, and they're so mid-century, and I obviously bought them for the emotional content because they sold for $39.99 with free shipping. $10 is what I paid for them. $22.22 in shipping and fees. Ouch. So my profit was $7.77, and it took 8 months to sell. But they sure were fun to look at. Shoebox greetings. This is Hallmark cards on the boat again. Cute parody shirt. It sold for $11.62, $14.80 in shipping and fees. Paid $2 for this at an estate sale. $5.26. Sorry, I didn't specify eBay, PayPal, and shipping fees for a total profit of $7.54. It took 20 months to sell. And there's where it says Shoebox Greetings. Obviously, this is vintage. Do I have a tag on it? And I did disclose that it had pilling. I don't show the tag for some reason. I'm not sure why. Usually I do. But anyway, that's what you're looking for. Usually the old lady Shoebox Greetings do better. Denon tuner amp audio receiver. I bought this at an estate sale. It sold for $120. They gave me an offer. $149.80 is what I collected. I paid $15 for this at the estate sale. $42.68 in shipping and fees for a total profit of $92.12, and it took a month to sell. So Denon is a good. Whenever I see a silver front that's kind of older, probably from 90s or older, I pick them up if it's a good brand. And Denon obviously is a good brand. It's not a great brand, but it's a good brand. And it didn't really have anything besides the power cord. So yeah, it must be a good one for audiophiles. Athleta women's. This was a lot of 2 different shirts, pink and gray. There's the tag, so you can see fabric's a little worn. Fading and pilling, and I disclosed that. It sold for $13.94, $16.99 is what I collected. Spent $1 on this. This came out of the consignment store bag that I take their stuff to Goodwill and pilfer through it first, and I give them $10 for the whole bag. $5.53 in shipping and fees for a total profit of $10.46. It took 5 months to sell. Volcrum. Now I'm going to show you this picture here because for some reason, eBay has gotten rid of all the pictures. So this is just a hoodie, a zip hoodie, purple. It sold for $23.24. I collected $33.89. It did go to Canada, but it went through the global shipping program, and I don't have Canada set on global shipping, so I don't know if they just wanted priority. But anyway, spent $1 on this. It came out of the consignment store bag. $11.48 in shipping and fees for a total profit of $21.41, and it took 11 months to sell. Here's a little vintage twist jar opener. I don't even know what this does. I think it's a jar opener. Yeah, it's a jar opener. So you can adjust how wide it is, and then once it's tight on there, then you can pop the seal on it, and it makes the jar easier to open. I think it's from the 70s. $12.08 is what it sold for. Everything's 7% off this week because I was having really slow sales, so I decided to have a sale. That seems to work for me. $14.87 is what I collected. I spent 50 cents for this at kind of a garage/rummage sale. $5.02 in shipping and fees for a total profit of $9.35, and it took 5 months to sell. These are not great blank tapes. They did take a while to sell. They sold for $13.94 with free shipping, but I didn't pay for anything. These came out of the free box at that they put outside the estate sale before they open it up. One of my companies, they don't value blank tape, so I always grab them. $6.92 in shipping and fees for a total profit of $7.02, and it took 14 months to sell. This is ISDA, which is a brand that comes from Nordstrom's. This is their store brand, and that's what the tag looks like. They are stretch capris. They had kind of a wide leg. They sold for $7.43, collected $11.81. Got these out of the consignment store bag, so I spent $6.10 in shipping and fees for a total profit of $4.71, and it took 6 months to sell. I usually don't list stuff that low. I must have been desperate, and I just didn't do anything about it. I try not to list anything under 15 anymore. Salvador Ferragamo, Blue Snake. I sold these once before, and they came back to me because they didn't fit. This is the curse of selling shoes. I love selling shoes. They always sell really well for me. These are super narrow. These are double A. So they're pretty hard to sell, but they sold for $39.99. They paid shipping, so $47.09. I spent $1.50 on these at a thrift store on half off day. $12.88 in shipping and fees for a total profit of $32.71. It took 8 months to sell from the last time they came back and I had to relist. Okay, looking at the numbers, I did have a return. So here's the Mary Jane Bourne shoes, size 6, that came back because they didn't fit. And here's the first free return, and it bit me a little bit. I sold them for $30. I had to pay a return shipping. I did get a little bit of store credit back, or, final value fees back, so $2.74 on that. So my total loss on that was $34.15, but I'll just relist them for $30 again. They did pay shipping originally, and I didn't refund that part of it. So that is working out pretty good for me, because that could have been really bad. Another $6 on top of that would have been $40 on a pair of shoes. Shoes are tough because they have to try them on and they have to see if they fit. And if they aren't familiar with the brand, that's why I like to charge shipping, because then maybe they'll think twice if they just go, oh, I'll just try them on and then send them back, just like Zappos. So I don't really want that model in my store. I want you to buy shoes that from brands that you already know fit you. And I usually will say something like that in the listing, although I stopped doing all that because people don't read it anyway. Anyway, $317.22 is what everything sold for. I collected $390.38. $66.99 cost of goods. Most of that were the Mary Janes, the stereo, and the buffet trays. $139.84 in shipping and fees for a total profit of the week $183.55. I would have been a lot better off if I hadn't had that return, but that is the cost of doing business. Amazon merch, very slow. 3 sold, 1 returned. Total profit on that $9.27 for a total profit. E-commerce $192.82.
So my week would have been better without the return, but maybe it'll be better next week because I won't have a return. So just always have to look at the bright side of things, because it's something that we don't have a ton of control over. It's obviously the slow season. Back to school is going to start to happen. So if you list that kind of thing, get those on backpacks and kids' clothes, stuff like that. Children's clothes up in outfits, and maybe group a couple outfits together, especially with the kindergarten crowd. If you can get the 5-year-old stuff and get higher end boutique brands, those can do really well starting in August. So just start thinking that way. That's kind of the beginning of the pre-Q4, if you sell that kind of stuff. So I want to talk about perceived value and actual value, and in reference to some comments that I got about the pulley. A lot of you guys were surprised how much I got for that pulley that I sold last week. It was a big old hay barn pulley, cast iron pulley. It was big, and it weighed 25 pounds, I think. I shipped it FedEx. It was big, and I got it at an auction for $10, and I can't remember exactly what it sold for, but it was a good amount of money. $100? Yeah, $100. Because like I was saying, I was stubbing my toe on a $100 bill. Anyway, so there was an experiment in 2012 called Significant Objects. And what they did was a couple of guys got some writers together, about 200 writers together, and said, go to a thrift store in your local area and pick out some generic looking thing that's kind of cool or funky and write a fun backstory and give it some provenance. And so they did, and they sold these items. Over 200 of them sold for collectively $8,000. They were not allowed to spend more than $1 or $2, so the average price for these was $1.25. I'll link the article down below. There's actually a whole book written about it. It's really fascinating. So if you give something some provenance, it shows that people that do actually read the descriptions, which in 2012 they probably did, not so much now, but it shows that it provides value. And people like to feel good, especially with collectibles, about the things that they're buying. They want to know the backstory. I had an antique booth, and if I was in there, they're like, oh, where'd you get this? Or where'd you find that? Or do you know who owned this? So I sold a saddle online years ago now, and it had, I got it at an auction for like $5 or $10. It was just it was actually an old bronc saddle, and it had the name Buddy somebody or other written underneath. And turns out this guy was a bronc rider from the 40s, so more than likely it was his saddle. But I didn't have paperwork, I didn't have any kind of provenance, and I was going back and forth with this guy in Arizona who was starting a Western history museum, and he was asking me, if I had any paperwork to prove any of this stuff, and I said, well, no, I got this at an auction in Bozeman, and this is what I know. And he ended up paying $270 for a saddle I paid $5 or $10 for, because I had some provenance. I was able to connect the dots on some things, even though I didn't have proof, but there was that backstory. And then he can go on and say to the next person, oh, this belonged to Bloody so-and-so. Buddy so-and-so. So this belonged to Buddy so-and-so who rode broncs in Montana and around the West in the 1940s, which is kind of cool, right? So I'm not telling you to go out there and lie or anything, but if you have provenance at all, some sort of history, some sort of backstory, if you own a barn in Iowa and you don't have horses or cattle that you are using these pulleys, hay pulleys for anymore, if you're tearing the barn down, if you want to upgrade your equipment, that old stuff has history. And when you sell that, you can say it was in my barn in Iowa. And now that conjures up this, in my mind, I'm thinking red barn, horses in the pasture and idyllic farmland, families working really hard. And so now that gives me an additional piece of history. So that gives it more perceived value. So that's what I mean by perceived versus actual value. If I looked on eBay and I saw that most of the pulleys were selling for $40, yeah, I could have sold it for $40 in a day. But I gave it a little bit of provenance. I said it was found in a barn in Montana, which it was, I'm pretty sure. It definitely had paint and rust, and it was old and used, and it was in Montana. So I just put two and two together. There's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And it gave it more value. And pulleys are the big one. So rustic, industrial, modern is what's kind of popular around here right now. And designers will pay a lot of money for those pulleys. And then they'll charge their clients, they'll hook them up with lights, with wiring, and make them into lights, and they'll charge their clients a ton more money. So everybody kind of wins, right? I'm just at the bottom of the I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. I'm the scavenger, rooting around trying to find the deal, and I made what I am totally happy with. So don't be afraid to give your stuff a little bit of a story. I mean, go read this article. It's some of the stories are hilarious. These guys are super clever, super creative. They made up these awesome stories about these generic things that you see. One was just a red wire basket, and there was like a duck vase that was probably from the 70s with a cheesy grin. There were birthday cake candles, and they wrote these elaborate stories, put them up at auction, and they sold them for a lot of money. And it's just funny how we as humans really like to connect with the things we buy. And if we can provide that kind of a story and get a little bit more money for it, well, that's what you should do. Hope you guys had good sales this week, and keep listing, keep going out into barns and climbing around and finding good things. If you like what you saw, give me a thumbs up or go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. If you don't like it, then you can give me a thumbs down. That's fine. I've got a pretty thick skin, and I love to hear your comments. And I finally responded to all of them. It took me a little while, and I apologize, but my life's a little hectic. I'll have to tell you about that chapter in my life later on. Have a good week. Bye.